So we felt it was definitely time to do an update. And we contracted with Tool Design and Evaluate, who handled our community engagement part of it, to update the plan. And a lot of what Tool Design did was some multimodal network analysis, which Katie and Adam will discuss later. But we had a project team kickoff meeting in late June of 2024. And the plan is, or the intention, I should say, not plan, we're talking about a plan. The intention is that this update will be adopted by the commission in June. And we're also developing as companion documents to the plan rather than doing one chapter of existing conditions for 10 counties. When we did this plan in 2019, what we did was individual county profiles, active transportation profiles for each county, the city of Pittsburgh. We are in the process of updating those, and we expect those to be completed and also adopted in conjunction with the plan update in June. And we're not done with those yet because we're waiting for the network analysis to be done because we want to capture some of that data in our updates. So they'll be static, but they'll be interactive processes. So that's the introduction. And then we'll move on to the plan process. So once we got going, we established a broad, diverse steering committee to guide the planning process. I'd like to thank all the steering committee members that participated in that. And then we had Tool Design present at many of FBC standing committees to keep everyone engaged and seek feedback from various committees and county planners and districts. And then once they're on you can see that August 1st, they present a transportation demand management partners, the various committees. And then we moved on to, we conducted an online community survey, which really is represented in this chart. And then held 4 listening sessions across the region. 3 of the listening sessions were held in each PennDOT district, since we have 3 districts that cover our region. And then we held one here at our office as a more central location for the city in Allegheny County. And we gained a lot of feedback there. And then for the active transportation profile updates, staff, Julia, myself, Anthony, Chris Jarvis, we went out and met with many of the planners from our 10 counties. We requested meetings with all 10 counties, but didn't get them all worked out. Anyways, to seek additional information on current programs and projects they may be doing, we can reflect in the updated profile reports. And also did an inventory of what multimodal plans and policies they may have adopted, and Tool Design, and we'll present more on that in the policy inventory. And then just an FYI on the survey, we did an online survey to see to get a better understanding of how people in our region use active transportation, issues they may face, travel patterns, and then how SPC, where could we focus our efforts to be more useful and help utility governments. For that survey, we got 393 responses. And then from the listening sessions, which incidentally, we have one in Beaver Falls, one in Washington, PA, Indiana, PA, and then, like I said, the 4th one here at our office. Those notes there. Okay, overall, we had 120 comments in response to the questions and 84 comments indicating challenges and opportunities these listening sessions. So that's pretty much the plan process. And then what do we have next? The vision. And I can't even say it. Our long-range transportation plan, Smart Moves for Changing Regions, sets the foundation for all the work we do as an MPO. And so this plan update reflects that vision, the regional vision that was established in the Smart Moves, which is listed there, a world-class, safe, and well-maintained integrated transportation system that provides mobility for all. And then we have identified 4 broad goals. And I don't know if you picked up the one page there by the agenda, but we have that out there. There are links on there to the meeting, which Alan and Katie will be presenting. I'd like to be novel top layer once all the offerings finalized and late and available, but that's just as an FYI. So we identified those 4 broad goals and various objectives within each goal. Let me look at my notes. This is great. I recently had surgery on my left hand. I'm left-handed. I can't forget. I'm getting negative things. So, all right. Yeah. So that's our vision and goals. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll move on to the focus areas. So also as part of the plan update and in response to the community engagement comments that we received, we decided to have these 4 areas to focus our efforts for assisting the region and local municipalities within the region to advance their respective active transportation goals. So you can see there on the left, the first one, regional trail coordination. That's a big effort, a big undertaking. So we'd like to establish a formal entity responsible for planning, developing, and funding trails and regional development, including negotiation with railroads where applicable. A lot of the easy trail connections have been done. Now we have trails that are adjacent to or within a railroad right away. Not everyone, as far as trail groups go, have the capacity to negotiate with that. So we'd like to create this entity. The effective is more thorough. That's our focus area. But the first one is, well, let's establish a committee to look at developing that entity. What would be the governance structure? How would it be funded? Who would be staffed by it? So that's focus area. And then on the top right, funding, SPC is we'll continue to do what we have been doing, which is provide resources, tools, and assistance to help local governments access funding. And we have the federal competitive programs that we administer. Then on the bottom left, sidewalk maintenance and repairs for many communities throughout the 10-county region. Sidewalk maintenance is probably one of the biggest issues for active transportation. Sidewalks that are in disrepair, sidewalk gaps. And we're aware of some programs out there. The city of Pittsburgh has a critical sidewalk repair program. The borough has a sidewalk repair program. Others are following suit. So we'll provide more resources related to that. And then the last one there, model policy development. Since plans and policies are critical to advancing your transportation goals, will provide additional guidance to help municipalities adopt plans and policies, support culture of safety, and advance those activities. So that's kind of a quick summary of the background on that. Now I'm going to turn it over to Katie and Addis for some on the plan, which was developed as a story map and the companion resources. So whenever you're ready, Katie.
Katie, we can't hear you.
It's like she's unmuted, but we can't hear her. All right. Katie, are you speaking? No. I'm usually the one with technological issues, tech issues. I love it. How about while Katie's working on that, I don't know what we need to do. So I need to get Alex or this. Yeah. And then Anthony, are you guided to that? Thank you. Anyone have any questions on the plan process, development, vision, and goals, anything like that? Working this out. This would be a good time to take notes. Okay.
Yeah, I'll raise an issue that's kind of been a bugbear for us anyway in the region. Is a lot of the roads are PennDOT roads, and the process for analyzing them, assessing them, changing them, getting them built, and designed is different, right, from local municipality roads. And so one of the things I think, I don't know, there's a couple of districts that overlay the SPC.
Yeah, we have 3 district offices.
Right, so just how to get them to support the active transportation goals, which would be a really interesting question.
Yeah, that's
a series of questions.
Great. That's good. That's great to bring out complications that can be involved when you're dealing with a state-owned roadway. And PennDOT does have a program called PennDOT Connects. I don't know how much you know about that program, but I just was participating in a PennDOT Connects steering committee meeting yesterday, statewide steering committee that has for that. and they're launching a municipal outreach program. So hopefully, with PennDOT Connects, we can help you with that and help municipalities be more engaged with PennDOT and what the requirements are and steps going through it. And that's what that piece help. But yeah, anything like that we can do to help expand on that. Are we good? Let's test. Kitty, can you try again? So weird. People are saying in the chat that they can hear her, but we cannot. Yeah.
You guys hear me?
I think I jinxed it. So
We can't hear
raised hand.
You guys hear me at all?
can't hear anybody online, so it is probably a problem in this road.
You should hear people.
I
Yeah.
could hear you a second ago. Throwing together through Justin. Yeah, I could hear you a second ago.
You hear me?
All right. Now we can hear you. Wow. Yeah, we can hear you.
Try.
I'll be clear. It was sorry.
When you guys raised the issue with PennDOT and interested in how they could use PAL integration in the local communities, some PennDOT property.
All right, Justin, we'll keep that in mind. And I will get back to you. I know I owe you an email.
No worries. No worries. I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, I am too. All right. Are you ready, Katie? All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay.
Kenneth, you need to mute your microphone.
Yeah, everyone's forgotten to dogs.
Anyone else who is currently speaking, please mute.
All right. Everyone can hear me now? Okay. You're not
Hear you.
saying. All right. Sorry about that. But glad everyone can hear. So as I was trying to say before, I'm Katie Alone with Tool Design. I'm a senior planner, and I've been working with Kristen Saunders and Sonam, who's in the room, and then Kenneth, who thankfully brought his computer in. We're in the same office, so we can get the audio working. And then Adam Wood is also joining us on the call. So first, I wanted to go over kind of the components of the final deliverable. This plan includes an interactive web application that has several components, including background, a multimodal network analysis, how this plan will be used, and several links to additional tools and resources, including a multimodal plans and policies inventory and design toolkit. I'll be sharing the web application in just a bit to go through that. You want to go to the next slide? So this plan, both acknowledges that policy changes are really important, but they also take time to implement. So therefore, the ATP update provides a description and inventory of 7 key policies, the ones that you see on the screen right now, in the multimodal plan and policies inventory. As Leanne was talking before, a focus area for implementation is to develop model policy language and resources for communities to adopt a full set of key policies. You want to go to the next slide? And then the other one of the other major deliverables out of this planning process was the design toolkit, which is a collection of resources and street treatments that can support communities to expand their active transportation networks. This document compiles relevant national and local design guidance and provides detail on several tools that will be used to this region's for their region's specific context. So it's like multimodal main streets, rural town gateways, and advisory bike lanes, just to name a few of the ones that we have on the screen. Thanks. So as part of this process, like Leanne mentioned, the project team conducted a series of analyses to assess the experience of getting around the region by walking, biking, and using transit. If you want to go to the next slide. The team really wanted to conduct analyses that would help the region answer several key questions. So first, which areas have low stress access to jobs, transit, businesses, and schools? And this was based on a level of traffic stress analysis, intersection crossing level of stress analysis, and walk shed and bike shed analysis. Next, where can people access the trail network without an automobile? This was based on trail access, walk shed, and bike shed analysis. The third major question was, where do critical gaps exist in the bicycle and pedestrian network? This was based on critical link analysis and trip potential analysis. And then the last critical question was, where is it safe and comfortable to walk, bike, and access public transportation? And this was based on the walk shed and bike shed analysis. And in the interactive map, the results of these analyses can be toggled on and off. And like I said, we'll screen share that in a minute. So before we get to that screen share, we wanted to define measuring biking, walking, and rolling stress. So the bike level of traffic stress uses roadway data to understand how stressful it feels to bike on a given street. Biking is most stressful on streets with higher traffic volumes, larger widths, so multiple lanes, higher speeds, and don't have any facility, so no bike lanes. And then to measure walking and rolling stress, or the comfort of crossing the street, was measured. And crossing the street is more stressful on, again, higher traffic volume streets with multiple lanes and higher speeds, and at crossings where there aren't signals, crosswalks, or stop signs. So I wanted to switch to the screen share. Leanne, would you like to screen share the application, or would you like us to? And the room is now muted if you said something.
If you can share it, Katie, that would be good.
So can I share my screen?
On your screen, yeah.
All right. All right, perfect. Everyone see it? Well, maybe in a second.
Yes.
Great. All right. So to start us off, I'm just going to walk through each of these sections that you see at the top here. So the welcome section includes a background about the plan and process, defines active transportation and roles and responsibilities within the region. So it sets the tone. The community engagement map has comments from all of the different listening sessions that Leanne mentioned. And you can click on the actual points and read the comments that people had during the community engagement process. For mobility in the region today, this section sets the tone for where we are going. Or where you are going and measuring the future success. It talks about major societal events that have impacted active transportation, and it also defines the comfortable bicycle facilities. Where we're headed, this is the vision and goals that were outlined by Leanne during the presentation, and we have listed vision goals and those focus areas of implementation for 2025 to 2030. For measuring success, we have stats of where you are today as a region, such as miles of local bikeways, and what types of objectives and performance measures will be used in the future to measure success. So you can click on this table to see those objectives and performance measures. And of course, these correspond with the goals areas of the plan itself. For how we'll get there, this summarizes those 7 key plans and policies that I talked about in the plan and policy inventory. And they're really ways to improve active transportation throughout the region. And there's steps for local governments that they can take to implement the policies and plans. The next section is the multimodal network analysis. This is the analysis results that I mentioned earlier. So to view these, it is a little bit better to open it in another screen. It'll be larger. It might take a minute to load. There's a lot of data available, which is great, but it does take a little bit of time to load. And then you can select what type of analysis you want to focus on. So, for example, if we wanted to focus on where do critical gaps exist in the pedestrian network, we can click on this analysis. It'll take a second to load. And then we could zoom in to the area that we want to focus on to look at those critical gaps. And those will be highlighted based on the streets where people could potentially take a short trip, but there are no sidewalks present currently. And that description of what is shown is in the map here. It might be a little bit hard to see in the screen share, but you can zoom in to that when you're looking at on your computer. I'm going to flip back to the rest of the map or web application. So if you move to how to use this plan, Adam is going to go through a few examples of how to apply this plan, specifically the network analysis. But in general, this plan can help identify and prioritize projects. And then just to wrap us up with the last 2 sections, there is a Talk to Us section that has contact information, and then the appendix and links. And all of the appendix and links will be uploaded to SBC's website in the future, and then linked here. And any of the red text that you saw throughout are placeholders for those future links once they're uploaded to the SBC's website. So I will pause there. Maybe before we switch to screen share or switch the screen share back to Leanne, we can answer a few questions that I see in the chat. So Allison said, can you share what data you use for the bike ped stress analysis? What is the set of cameras or sensors people riding walking routes? So we do have a methodology memo that as part of this planning process, that's one of the appendices that describes all of the different data and the methodology for the analyses, but I'll let Kenneth add anything if you'd like to for that.
Yeah, I think Adam's answer was very thorough and very good. It's primarily based on like roadway characteristics. So that's what influences those stress levels that are used in the analysis.
Thanks. And I definitely didn't see that Adam had already answered it. So thank you, Adam. Any other questions about the web map itself or the web application? If not, we can switch back to Leanne screen sharing and Adam will go through those examples.
Could I make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Richard Fader. Hopefully you can hear me. And that is whenever you have a red color for a road indicating high stress, it would be great to have some street views to show sample street views. You can't do a million of them to show what contributes to the stress on particular road segments. So we know what's happening with road segments, and B, so we understand your methodology. Thank you.
There's a comment about colors in maps. I'm colorblind, and reds and greens look alike. So when you look at your maps, please make them very distinct and different colors, not so that people who are colorblind can differentiate or have some redundancy in there so one can tell.
Thanks. Those are both really great comments. Any other questions on this point, Craig?
Yeah, I had a question about the ultimate plans and policies inventory. Is that going to be a mapped feature as well? So that one of the problems that I see a PRT working across the county with 130 municipalities and numerous other jurisdictions is that folks do plans that we just don't know about. And we've tried to map them ourselves to the best of our ability, but having a repository like this for the region would make it a whole lot easier if that is maintained and up to date and everything. So is that something that you're looking to do, or are you just thinking like a static web page, PDFs, something like that?
I can answer that question. Unless you wanted to add anything, Katie, I didn't want to cut you off, but we do have an active transportation resource center that we maintain. It was developed when the plan was first developed in 2019 or adopted then. And we have a plan library on there. So and they're set up like 40 inboxes for each county. You can click on the county. Do they have an active transportation plan? And there's a list of the municipalities that do, and a link to their plan. So we do have that. But when you're saying mapping, did you have something else in mind?
Well, like if there's a trail project that's, in planning stages or even just in concept stages, is that something that's mapped so that folks can see, this is coming down the pipe. Maybe I want to get involved. Maybe I need to coordinate this other project that we're doing to make sure that we're compliant. Things like that.
And I could make an add on to that. I know Christine and me were chatting about maybe trying to like existing policies and like things that were happening in the region already. Right now, I think it's only in a CEF format, but I know that we have been talking about that.
That'd be great. I know it's a lot of work to maintain, but again, because we have so many agencies, it's so hard to keep everything coordinated. And I think we could do it to make that easier.
That's a great comment.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you've looked at our active transportation inventory map that Chris Story of some other staff members maintain on a regular basis. It's like also from the active transportation resource center and other SPC websites. Maybe we could somehow connect the policy planning inventory to that somehow and reflect it. Art, that would be helpful. I guess I'm asking. That would. Yeah, that would help.
Anything that we can bring together in one place is great.
Yes, that seems great.
I think Friends of the River maps potential trail projects.
We have the trail plans and potential trail projects mapped already, right? Right. We call them exactly plan and proposed.
Yeah,
I got
know of them. Yeah, in whatever stage, proposed, planned, or active. Yes.
that we know.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of the crux of this.
Yeah.
That we know of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought you were asking specifically about the plans and policies being mapped.
At least a big part of it.
Okay. So
There,
We have that.
that can be done. Yeah, we've done that for the watershed plans in our region, where filter it by if you're looking for a specific one or the area that it may cover. So that could be duplicated into the active plans as well. Just if you're looking at it, is it a municipal plan? Is it a county plan? And then just simply clicking or querying in a map.
It's so complicated. Everything is connected somehow, right? So Sawmill Run Watershed connects with the work that PRT is doing, with Transit in the Corridor, with the Sawmill Run Boulevard projects that PennDOT is looking at, other nearby projects. So great tempo we can, the more that we can show how all of these are connected and build these synergies and collaborate more effectively is awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's right. My question was in the same spirit of collaboration. We put a lot of effort into trying to get people up to participate. I think you guys had the map where you drop minutes or whatever. And then just the other day we got another email, PennDOT. They're updating their 12-year plan. asking the same exact thing. Is there any way that this all network, given a PennDOT, like just so that everything's talking to each other?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm thinking, Ricky, this touches a lot on what you're doing, like communicating and sharing data, right? So I don't really have a great answer for that, except that it would be nice. I don't know that we could just export that.
I don't think we should be able to.
So we okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would defer to the folks at Tool for that, but yeah, I mean, we're looking at doing that for some of our other plants because completely agree. Yeah, people get surveyed
surveyed out.
No one wants to fill out 20 surveys with the same thing. So yeah, the goal is any of that information that we can then funnel to PennDOT, to the municipal, roadway owners or whoever the infrastructure owners are we're trying to do.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
Right.
right now. Which
Yeah.
there's a lot going on right now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And have not another survey, right?
Yeah.
And even within SBC, like winter safety, like survey.
Yeah, we'll fall inside
Inside
there.
there, Eric. Okay. All right. Anything else right now? Okay, we'll go back to you, Katie. I don't know where you're at.
Yeah. Leanne, would you like to switch to screen sharing the PowerPoint again, and then Adam can go through those examples?
Sure.
All right, great. All right, well, thanks for having us. And Katie, thanks for going through the web application. What I wanted to talk about for a few minutes are just some practical ways that all of you can use this plan to help make your own planning decisions, to help potentially identify projects, so on and so forth. As far as infrastructure goes, this ATP is not super prescriptive in terms of what projects should be built or anything along those lines. Rather, it includes the series of analyses layers that Katie showed to help identify, for each local community, county, what have you, where some areas of need may be, and to help you identify some potential projects. So I have some examples going through the next few slides. If you happen to know these areas really well and see something that isn't 100% accurate, keep in mind that we were dealing with a very large region and there are data quality issues at play through a lot of this. Especially, I know there's a couple of places where some recent infrastructure has been constructed in the region, that if you go and look at the web application, you may see that we are missing a sidewalk that was built, a few months ago, for example. All that to say, I wanted to show a few examples, and one of which I think is really relevant probably to most agencies is identifying the purpose and need for a roadway project. So, for example, this is West Newton, and we are looking at West Main Street, which is State Highway 136, and in particular, looking at the bridge over the river here. Hypothetical example project, let's say the bridge is in need of replacement, and the agency, PennDOT, all the stakeholders are trying to understand what is needed as part of this project. Do we need to replace it with another 2-lane bridge? Do we need a 4-lane bridge? Do we need to carry utilities across it? There's a whole lot of considerations that go into large infrastructure projects. And that's what purpose and need means. One of which should be what needs are there from an active transportation perspective. And so you can look through the different analysis layers and see what limitations there may be to access to different types of destinations. Are there any critical gaps that have been identified and so forth? We pulled up the biking access to trails layer, so you can see the sort of teal line running parallel to the river is the Great Allegheny Passage Trail. The kind of dashed purplish lines indicate areas, and these are using the roadway network, but these are areas that in theory could have access to the trail if there was continuous bike access provided. What this map tells me is that most of West Newton cannot get to the trail due to some gaps in the bike network. It's not to say you couldn't physically get there. Maybe you bike along the sidewalk, but it's not the sort of low stress biking conditions that we really want to promote across the region. And so by looking at this, we can clearly see that the east side of the river does not have access. And that tells us that perhaps the new bridge should include bike lanes or maybe just a wider sidewalk that could serve as a shared use path for people biking and walking. And it also tells us that moving west of the bridge, there are likely some gaps along State Highway 136 that if at least for that next block or two, something was constructed, some bike lanes or again, a shared use path along the side of the roadway, that could all of a sudden open up a lot more access to the trail corridor. So this is an example of how you might use this type of analysis. On the next slide, got another example. We performed a stress analysis, which we talked about a little bit earlier, for both biking and for pedestrian crossings. This map is showing the pedestrian crossing stress analysis in these green, blue, orange, and red dots. And apologies for those of you that may have trouble distinguishing between the red and the green, but I can interpret this for you in just a second. This is Butler, and what you may want to use this type of analysis for is helping to identify improvements to traffic signals or to some potential pedestrian crossing locations. You can review the crosswalk comfort levels for your community and see where there are areas of high comfort and low comfort. On this map, the Main Street corridor running north-south has primarily orange and red dots on it, which correlate with lower levels of comfort to people crossing. In addition, there's a pretty significant stretch of Jefferson Street heading east that also has these lower comfort crossings identified. And that is based on the traffic volumes and speeds on those roadways and the presence of any sort of crossing improvements. And what this tells us is that these are some locations that if we included some additional crossing infrastructure, perhaps a median island to break up the crossing, maybe providing some changes to signalization like leading pedestrian intervals, which give you a little bit of a head start as a pedestrian getting across the roadway, or curb extensions, things like that could help to improve the comfort of those locations. So when you're looking at your community, you may look at this and say, okay, I see a lot of low comfort crossings. Maybe we don't fix every single one of these, but we can try to create a consistent spacing and to get people the opportunity to get across the roadway. And I'll put a plug in here that in the design toolkit, there is a section on multimodal Main Street that can help give you some ideas about what this could look like in practice. There are also advantages that this information could help you with in terms of developing a bike plan or planning a bike network, or perhaps just trying to plan a bike route through your community. We identified critical gaps in the bike network, as well as critical gaps in the pedestrian network. But for the bike network, this was based on evaluating the stress levels of all roadways within the region and comparing that with some travel data, some travel trip modeling data that identifies where short trips occur. So in areas where there are a lot of shorter trips occurring by all modes, and there are a lot of high stress bikeways, that helps us to identify some places where perhaps if we implemented a lower stress, higher comfort bikeway, we may see more people choosing to bike. For this particular example in Homestead, there are two lines identified, one along East 8th Street and then one along Homestead Grays Bridge that came up as gaps in the bike network. And so you may look at this when you're developing your bike network plan and say, well, we should look at including some sort of future enhancement to these corridors to help create some connectivity. And then for the final example I wanted to share is sort of a combination of different analysis outputs into some decision making. So this is looking at Brownsville Road on the south side of South Park. And we have pulled in some pedestrian oriented information onto this slide with these two maps. On the right map, we have the critical gaps in the pedestrian network. So these are corridors that do not have sidewalks and are in areas with a lot of short trip activity, which is associated with a lot of, there are restaurants and some hiking trails and stores and so forth in this area. So there's a lot of short trip activity happening currently, but there's no sidewalk in the area. On the left map, which is in the center of the slide, we've identified the potential access to key destinations, as well as the current access. So you can see the sort of teal lines have current access, but the dashed magenta or purple lines don't currently, but they could if we had some improvements. And then the dots indicate the crossing stress. So the red dots and orange dots indicate low comfort, also known as high stress locations for crossing. They're where the sort of southern end of Brownsville Road, where there's several dots. There are multiple restaurants and stores and so forth in that area. Plus, you have the hiking trails just to the west. And so this is telling me that if we could integrate some additional sidewalk and crossing improvements into this area, we open up opportunities for people to be able to walk between these destinations to these destinations, go for a hike, walk over and get a meal, that sort of thing. Lots of opportunities for enhancement in that area for people walking. So I think that's my last example. So those are just a few ways of how you could take this information and use it to guide some of your decisions. The mapping application that Katie showed has these layers built into it, and you can open that up. You can open up multiple windows and compare your location, compare the layers to each other to get information. What we did to get these maps was we simply created a screenshot and cropped it. So that's one very easy thing you could do without needing a lot of technological knowledge to get some maps showing current conditions in your area. And then use the resources that are linked in the interactive web application, such as the design toolkit that Katie showed, to help you further make some decisions about investments in active transportation in your community.
All right, thanks for that presentation, Adam. Anyone have questions for Adam at this point? Anyone online?
I have a question from the previous presentation. I had my hand up and it was related to, I think, the discussion. We have like a number of like community municipal focused active transportation plans that have happened that generated a ton of data, surveys, interactive maps. How or what is that data somehow making its way into the regional active transportation plans? Because like was mentioned, folks are kind of surveyed out. They feel, well, we've provided input in our community. How does that translate into the regional plan and needs? And looking at this West Newton presentation just now, it's like planning is done specifically to places, but how does that impact and get into a regional plan, I guess, is my question.
How I envision that working, John, would be that's more likely to be captured in the active transportation reports, the profiles that we update, rather than the broad regional plan. Because again, that plan, our focus is providing funds and resources to municipalities. But for example, like in the Westmoreland County active transportation profile, we'll identify which municipalities have adopted active transportation plans and complete streets policies. We might use the examples that Adam just went through, something relevant to a community in Westmoreland County, and highlight that, or like feedback that you've got, you and the project team working on active transportation plans, like your priority projects. We'll call that out within those profiles. Does that answer your question there?
Yeah, I think it does. I was kind of looking at tool design and the tools that they're using, and is there a means to get the data already gathered into that, or does it? And I think what you just explained is once it's adopted, then that's where you look. But yeah, so all right, good enough. That was just my comment and thought.
All right, thanks, John. All right, anything else? All right, and so we have more from you, Katie, or was that our kind of end of the plan update?
Yep, that was what we had. So thank you.
in front of me. Okay, great. Well, it is early, and like I said, we do have pizza coming, but not until probably like 45 noon because they don't open early. So we'll go ahead and do roundtable updates. We'll start with on left and I don't know. I'm going to say if you could raise your hand if you would like to give an update. All right, Justin from Growing Together.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So my region is South Hills. I am along the Chartiers Creek or in the Chartiers Creek watershed, specifically the townships of Upper St. Clair, which I reside in, across the street, which is South Fayette. Between those two, there's been a lot of development. The Hastings Charter Homes community. And with that, it's also been an increased trail blazing in place, much dirt trails. But and some of my concern earlier was just in getting or coming to the table with PennDOT to try and become a part of the trails that are existing, that are growing, and just to be a part of that, how that was about. Currently, Upper St. Clair is are putting some more trail, which is going to be paved surface that is connecting some of their fields to their primary recreational center. And South Fayette has a project going on where they are currently in the process of going out and doing some surveys and engineering, and they're putting pink flags and they're marking where the trail's gonna go, which it's been working on for about 6 months. So there is some new trail development there, and that's in their Fairview Park. South Fayette's Fairview Park, and Upper St. Clair's Park is the Boyce Mayview Park. And so, that's about it. Say anything else on the nothing else on Chartiers Creek Trail? Not much, but there's still developments on both sides of the stream, and hopefully Chartiers Creek Trail, which is would go from Chartiers Park and into these other parks. Hopefully we can get something together with nonprofit organizations working on serving a piece of property that's available in that corridor, which is a green corridor. And so, it's going good. Thanks for being here.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks for that. It mentioned it in her being an ongoing champion. All right. I see John Torak. You have your name raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, just two things. Early on in the chat, I put in our land use webinar series link. We did our first session back in February on motivating and engaging and retaining volunteers with some academic theory behind it and examples by DCED's Molly Sarver. It was really good presentations. I thought if folks want to sign up for it, the recording's available when you register. And there's still 4 more sessions. You get 5 sessions for the one registration. And when you register, we don't mind or actually like when there's a group that comes under one registration. Just let us know how many are with you, because we try to track that for our reporting as Penn State Extension to them in our land grant mission. So there's that. The other piece is the active transportation. I put in links for Vandergrift. It's currently ongoing. We had I don't know if it's our final public input meeting, but we're still doing some stakeholder interviews and such. But it's an example of how we collect a whole bunch of data locally. And I still, going back to tool design, it would be great if somehow when we do these plans and do this data seeking from the community, if we could somehow have that translated, even if it's in broad themes, up to regional plans. There's a lot of work that goes into these plans. And we've got one in Vandergrift. We've got Delmont that's pretty active and doing another study now for a feasibility study to connect to the Westmoreland Heritage Trail. And the first one we did in our region in Scottsdale Smith. And Scottsdale is working with Connellsville and Fayette County, still attempting to get the trail into Scottsdale, a trail into Scottsdale. So there's a lot of really good things that are ripples from these plans that continues to make a difference out in our suburban fringe SBC counties. Just kind of reinforcing that look to these plans when you need data because there's a ton that's gathered. Beyond that, I guess that's it. If you want at all, I did want to say if anybody visits or has lived in or would like to visit Vandergrift, it's always great to get an outside perspective too. The survey links and the interactive map are there if you want to look at them, the tools we've been using. And thank you so much to SPC for providing a lot of that background resource capacity. These boroughs are out in our rural places, especially, often don't have much capacity on their own to make active transportation better. So, all right, that's good enough for me.
All right, thanks, John. Anyone else online have anything that you'd like to share that you have going on?
This one's raised.
Okay, how about Sam Pearson?
Right.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I work with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. I think I know a lot of you. We provide funding through the WalkWorks program to communities around the state, many actually in Allegheny County, for active transportation plans. I had shared at least sort of the information about where plans had been done and where they are being done for the purposes of this active transportation plan update in the region. But I also wanted to just remind anyone who might be on, I don't know why my camera is only just starting, remind people who might be on here about both our current funding opportunity, which is out now with applications due in on March 21st for active transportation planning funds that would run from June of this or July of this year to June of next year. And then also to note that we will have subsequent to that deadline in March, we will have open just to our priority communities, which would be 10 counties, including in the SBC region, Fayette and Greene, and some just sort of adjacent, like Lawrence and Mercer, and any community that has over 60% Penn and Byer-Screen score in the DEP Environmental Justice Map. They would be eligible for our pre-planning program, where we work with the community to get ready to apply for active transportation planning funds next year from us. I would point out that that gives you extra time on your plan. In essence, it gives those communities time to make the connections, be ready, to state agencies, community organizations, and get the public primed to respond when we do have field a steering committee start having public meetings and request input. So that's just a way of expanding the effectiveness of our fairly short turnaround grant program. So I'll just put the page in the chat, and thank you.
All right, thanks, Sam. Right. I'm not seeing any other. He has
Chris
Ziegler. All right.
Hi, this is Chris Ziegler from Armstrong Trails and Butler Freeport Community Trail. Armstrong Trails is finally complete. Brady Tunnel opened in November. We are having a celebration to open the Leechburg Towpath and a mile trail through Leechburg on April 26th, celebrate Trails Day. And Butler Freeport has extended their trail an additional 0.6 of a mile. We received an easement from Norfolk Southern, so you can access a much larger parking lot than in Laneville via Butler Junction, Montrose Avenue. It's under the west side of the 356 bridge. So we've been busy.
All right, that's great. Thanks for that update. Can you tell me a little more about your ribbon cutting or opening celebration on Celebrate Trails Day?
Yes, it will be at Leechburg's Riverfront Park gazebo. We will not be having complimentary lunch that day. We usually do, but in this instance, the celebration's in town. So we're working with all the area restaurants and providing menus and specials for the day. It starts at 11 o'clock, again at the gazebo in Leechburg Borough. Armstrong Trail is developed about 4.5 miles from Shenley towards Leechburg, and then Leechburg Borough, Leechburg Area Community Development Corp. Received funding for an additional mile over to the walking bridge that goes into Hyde Park.
Okay, great. I'll probably reach out to you afterwards, see if we can coordinate. That is
Okay.
Celebrate Charles is the first day of each year that we start up with our Yellow Goat bike rides. So maybe we could do a ride in that vicinity and
Oh, okay. That would be great.
celebration. So that would be great. All right, thanks for that. Ray, any other online? Great. Hearing none or seeing none right at this moment, I had to move it into the room. Eric, would you just give an update on the bike park?
Sure. Yeah. Eric from Bike Pittsburgh here. I have a couple quick announcements. The Bike to Work Day this year is going to be Thursday, May 15th. So mark your calendars. It's Thursday because Fridays a lot of people work from home. So people aren't biking to work on that day as much. So mark your calendars. Another thing I wanted to announce is we are partnering with the City of Pittsburgh's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure on a Vision Zero Summit in the right now tentatively October 17th. It's a Friday. So everybody would be invited to it. Details are still being worked out. We have a lot to work out, but that's tentatively the date for it right now. We are currently looking for a location too. We're striking out in a couple spots we've checked. So if anybody knows of a spot that can host up to 200 people with a few breakout rooms, I'm definitely looking for ideas for that. So yeah. Anyway, pencil that one in because October 17th isn't solid yet. And then the third one is us as well as other advocates on next Wednesday are going to be in DC for the National Bike Summit. One of the asks that we have is due to a lot of stuff that's going on in the federal government. If you have a project that you feel like might be threatened from the cuts and all the things that are going on, we're asking people to submit letters of support, and we're happy to bring them to the directly to the politicians. We have a meeting scheduled with. We have both senators, Pennsylvania senators meeting scheduled, but we have a lot of reps as well. So please reach out to me. My contact info is pretty easy to find. It's just eric@bikepgh.org. And we're just looking for letters of support from like NGOs, nonprofits, government, whomever, specifically to support projects that you think might be threatened.
Touch on bike parking.
Which like parking? Parking. Finally, there is a bill, parking protected bike lanes. We're at it again. There's a bill that already passed the Pennsylvania House. For those who don't know, we've been trying to change the PA vehicle code to allow for parking protected bike lanes. It's a technical fix. It needs to go through the legislative process to change it in the vehicle code to allow for them on Pennsylvania roads, especially Pennsylvania owned roads, PennDOT owned roads, I should say. It's already passed the House unanimously. Now it's in the Senate, and we are trying to get it through the Senate Transportation Committee first. And so that's where we're at. There isn't really an action alert at the moment, other than if you're in a district where a Pennsylvania senator is on the Transportation Committee, please reach out to them and just tell them it's an important bill and they should bring it up for a vote. We're confident that if it gets brought up for a vote, it will pass. It almost passed all the way last year, but it ran out of time. This year it's really early in the process, so please reach out to your senators at this moment and pay attention to our website for future updates.
All right, thanks so much. Then one question for you. Bike to Work Day being on Thursday, is that a Bike Pittsburgh thing, not the national change.
We never really always pick we pick our own dates. Yeah.
SBC always celebrates National Bike to Work Day, and we used to do it on the National Bike to Work Day, which was Friday. But then with the hybrid schedules, we do ours on Wednesday. So the third Wednesday in May will be STC's, and we do a walk, bike and walk to work day. So we'll have a group of staff meet somewhere to walk in. I'm not sure where we'll bike yet. We haven't talked about that. I'm not doing a new route for this year to go to bike to work day. Okay. All right. Anyone else in the room? Go down here. Right.
Greg Morris from Mount Lebanon. Lebo is an active transportation group in Mount Lebanon. And two things that I want to highlight from them. One is years ago when Mount Lebanon ceased to be ag land, became a bedroom community. The planning led to the development, and there were plats that were never acted on. There are paper streets out there that just are sort of overgrown. And one of those paper streets has been cleared by Lebo along Pennsylvania Avenue between Caliente restaurant, basically, and Castle Shannon gym area. So that's happened in recent weeks. And the second thing is, people always have good ideas, and they come here and talk about them and share them, and that's great. And sometimes visually seeing things is important. We've seen that with some of the first presentation, seeing the picture of the big rock there and then the big rock no longer there. The Home Depot has encouraged people in Mount Lebanon to like to draw, to imagine what their street would be like if it were different, and to sketch what that would look like. And later this spring, probably those sketches will be on display at the Mount Lebanon Public Library as you walk in along the wall where all the art is usually displayed. So it's, again, a way of getting people to think in our community about how our streets could be different. And one of the sketches I've seen happened to be right out front of where I live, and it looks great. So I'm really excited about this.
Really great. That does sound like an exciting project and a nice way to integrate art into it. Thanks for sharing. How do you want to add anything?
I appreciate the invite. It's all been really interesting and insightful, but nothing to add.
All right. Great.
Sure. Great to check PRT. We will be releasing, hopefully in the next few months or by next quarter, so we meet a new bus stop and street design guidelines. So our hope with that is that we put that out there, and developers and municipalities have the design guidance they need to build streets that accommodate buses and accessible access to transit. So keep an eye out for that. If you have any thoughts, shoot me an email or whatever. Talk to me later. And what else? A big funding issue, as you might be aware, with transit. So I don't have any updates for that, but I think my superiors will in the next few weeks. So.
All right, great. And when did you say that new updated guidelines may be available?
Hopefully in the next month or two.
Okay, so we did link to those and plan resources, chemical solar, and street bus. So I want to make sure to get those.
Sure.
All right, thanks for sharing. All right, Ed, how about you?
Great, thanks, Ed Igler, advocate in North Hills, and bunch of good stuff going on. Worked with Ricky and the McCandless Township to put in a new trail, a Brent Trail. And one of the interesting things is, well, there's people who discover this new trail and would be willing to be stewards, but we have no way to engage them, right? And there's not necessarily an organization around it at this point, but the municipality created it. And the other bit of good news is that McCandless put in some new sidewalks to connect the Rachel Carson Trail over to a new Harmony Trail on the old Harmony line. And that Harmony Trail is growing rapidly. Pine Township is supporting it and putting it crossing at 910, which we're very excited about because it's a dangerous crossing across the state road. So when we see how that comes out, it would be a good example for others. And that'll allow to connect north to the Commodore Perry Trail and Cranberry. And so the network is expanding rapidly, and there's a lot of interest in supporting it with the technology. I had a great conversation with Chris and the GIS team a couple weeks ago, and I think there's some pretty interesting ways that we can, as an SPC organization, you guys can support all the versioning trails for municipalities with the data that you already have, which is terrific.
Right. I'll just make a quick plug. In my former role at Rails to Trails Conservancy, I'm still in touch with them. They're doing a lot of work around federal advocacy for federal funding. Like Pittsburgh mentioned, trying to collect information about projects that might be affected, and to piggyback and encourage them to reach out to you and to RTC as well. Even for projects that are funded with transportation alternatives or recreational trail program funding, those are going to be under attack potentially, or we're seeing the effects of the funding freezes. So just for probably for them to coordinate with you, they probably already are, but I wanted to flag that again. Thanks, Colin. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm going to pass it off. He's up manager. Probably one of the biggest things public transit is facing is our funding crisis, right? And one aspect of that hasn't really been talked about, I think, is the state of Pennsylvania has a liability cap for municipalities. And they're talking about doing away with that. That was brought up in the Supreme Court last year, and the bill passed in the Pennsylvania State Senate. Removing that gap only adds to the funding problems for our transit agencies, especially in our region. A lot of our smaller transit agencies couldn't handle $1 million or $2 million lawsuit liability. So if that goes through, transit will be looking for an additional layer of funding to back up the additional layer of liability they'll have to take.
Is that apply to trails?
It applies to municipalities across the board. So yeah, it would apply to trails.
Connor Plugadian, Local Government Academy. In addition to all of our normal programming on educating elected officials on transportation planning and just municipal government in general, right now we are working on a project to reinvigorate the State Association of COGS, and we're working a lot with COGS with a regional meeting in Mercer County this Thursday. For all the COGS in the western side of Pennsylvania, and we're doing them across the state following that meeting. As part of that, I know that we are looking, as it pertains to transportation planning and active transportation, we are looking at specific COG programs and multi-municipal and intergovernmental cooperation programs that COGS have implemented, and sort of trying to advertise those programs to sort of allow small communities to better leverage their resources and work together on intergovernmental trails through larger umbrella organizations like COGS. But that's not very specific, but that's the sort of how we're related to this stuff right now.
All right. Thanks for sharing of that.
I just wanted to say that I love the Trail Pittsburgh's project, trying to crowdsource data, and I think that's going to use the technologies to make it more affordable and good program. But I'm very interested in see about
That's I'll just add on top of that, for some of our other programs of transportation. I think most of you already know, as we talked about, that we have 2 safety action plans going on. One specifically for Allegheny County, funded with Safe Streets for All DOT funding, and one regional plan that we're doing internally. Both of those have surveys out. I know a lot of people have survey fatigue, as we discussed. If you have any general comments on safety, feel free to just send them to us. We can, incorporate them in with our comments if you don't want to take the survey. If you do want to take the survey, they're both on our website. You can find them under the safety section under transportation, or I can, follow up with more info for anyone who's interested. For the regional plan, we're doing a round of public outreach meetings right now in each of the 10 counties. Those are also on our website. And then we're going to be coming back out. We did one round of public meetings for the Allegheny plan. We're going to come back out late summer, do another round of meetings for that. So stay tuned for those. Obviously, safety and active transportation go hand in hand. And, we're really looking at how we can incorporate these 2 plans together.
Other thing I want to know, Rich might want to talk about this. It's STC put in a bill planning grant application for the area to Pittsburgh Trail on behalf of Friends of the Riverfront, PEC, and the Oil City Trail Planning Group. I think that's everyone. So Rich has been involved in that, pushing for that. So we'll keep you all updated when we hear about that.
I'll just plug our open data site. Just if you're on the internet, just search SBC GIS Open Data. All the data you could use in our 10 county region, from active transportation stuff to whatever else you were able to report, out there and all available for free.
Stu Valley Trail will be doing some maintenance on the trail over the next summer or the spring. Probably in April, will be a couple days of closure of the Penn City section from Grand Street to Robinson Bridge. We're going to be basically digging up the whole trail, repaving it. So it'll be 2 or 3 days, a week or so of that. Sometime in the near future, like next month or so, less than a month or so, they may be doing some rock stemming, which means they'll closing the trail to tear rocks off the hillside. So they'll land probably on the trail, nearby the trail. They don't land people on the trail when they're doing that. We're doing some drilling this week. It shouldn't affect any trail users. Trail volunteer fund, we made a couple of grants already this year. There are brochures there for people who want to find out about it. No worthy project, really volunteers, suffer from lack of tools, materials. See us.
I had a quick question. So, the previous administration was looking at limiting the hour and speed of some of the e-bikes. So that prompted 2 questions. So first, does anybody track where that stands? And 2, does that factor into any of the speed work that people are working on?
You're not tracking anything, but sure.
You mean the previous administration as in the governor? So that's true.
No, so the federal government was going to limit, like, one of the trade somebody was going to look, we were going to adopt the European standards, which lowers the speeds and changes the classification of bikes.
I'll be honest, I haven't been following the federal stuff too closely. Following the state stuff a little more, and that they were trying to redefine it on the state level. So because the one that's defined now is kind of old and out of date, and there's newer, like they're talking about different classifications. So they've been trying to get that on the state level, but haven't really gotten that through either.
State parks have to be seen out. We've had state regulations has come out with some regulations.
You know, a lot of land managers have their own, but this would be for statewide, like vehicle code stuff.
Sure.
My turn. Okay. First of all, thank you. I'm proud of the team for providing this forum and bringing so many people together. And not only thank you all of you for being part of this in person, but all of the folks also online. Just shows the interest I think we all have in improving and maintaining and making sure we build out a safe, transportation system along the trails. Thank you for your presentation. It was excellent to know all the work you're doing and some of the challenges that you're working with. To piggyback off of what Lily said, yeah, the Pittsburgh to Erie Trail is one of the things that we're certainly interested in trying to get done. We had a meeting with Congressman Kelly, Senator Hutchins said up in Titusville just a couple of weeks ago. There's an awful lot of interest in getting this done. I think it's about 75% done right now. And there are gaps, and some of those gaps involve, our friends at the railroad. So we'll have to continue to work along those lines. But really, just thank you for your active interest in doing this and working together to make these improvements.
So, would you like to add anything? You good? Okay. All right. And I did notice in the chat, just to call out, there were a couple comments of sharing of information. Report, where are we at there? Report Borough is currently working on an application for Walkworks funding. Pogo is planning our 2025 expansion. And feel free, posted that chat. If you'd like to speak, to jump in instead of me just reading it. But I just wanted to call that out in case people in the room didn't see that chat. So the Pogo Community Coalition meeting is Wednesday, April 8th. Oh, and David had to leave. Okay. Yes, I think that covers all the roundtable updates. And I thank everybody for sharing. As I said before, Joy, does I have anything? I don't want to overlook you. You're sitting there behind me. This forum provides a lot for us too. Like it's a networking opportunity for you, but we learn a lot and it helps us keep a pulse on what's going on in the region. So we love your attendance and appreciate your input a lot. And then I'd also just like to lastly thanks my cohort for all their efforts. And then this Rachel after transportation plan update. Julia and Terry, Anthony, who I think likes to make pizza, Chris Jaros, and Chuck and Brogdon. Like they were really the core SKC team. Of course, other SKC members contributed, but that was the support team. And we think that through that update, all their support and input. And Chris is still working in, so we'll still be working on the active transportation profile updates that on to get data. So got a great group here. All right. On that note, there is nothing else to be added. The meeting's adjourned, and so the restrooms are found that way, and we'll have pizza in the kitchen on Anthony gets 5 with it. Thank you all.